Alright, good afternoon to everyone. So welcome to September's installment of the Philippine Indigenous Language Lecture Series, or PILS, for the year 2025. This year-long series of public lectures was organized in solidarity with the International Decade of Indigenous Languages from 2022 to 2032 as declared by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO. So I am Brian Salvador Baran, and I'll be your moderator for today. This event is being recorded and will be uploaded to the YouTube channel of the UP Department of Linguistics. So for members of the audience, we have students here from Ling 190 and other students as well who has been regularly tuning to our PILS lectures for the past few sessions, and who I hope will be excited to learn about the verbal structure of Cebuano. So if you have any questions, we will try to address them after the talk. So we request that you keep your queries concise, to the point, and respectful. So please be quick and please be kind. September's lecture is on Cebuano, also known by its autonym Binisaya, with an ISO 6393 code CEB, a lingua franca of parts of the central and southern Philippines. Our speaker is currently an assistant professor at the department. She has finished her BA and MA linguistics degrees in the same institution and is currently working on her dissertation on the verbal affixation patterns of Tagalog for her PhD in linguistics. She is the former managing editor of the archive, the official journal of the department. Her research interests and publications are in the fields of typology, structure of Philippine languages, verbal morphosyntax, language documentation, dialectology, Philippine lexicography, Filipino as a second foreign language, translation, and cultural studies. To give her talk on Cebuano verbs subcategorization, an affix-based subcategorization of Cebuano verbs, let's welcome Assistant Professor Divine Angeli P. Endriga.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. So, some of you I haven't seen in a while, okay, and some of you I haven't seen at all. So, hi. So, I'll be presenting about Cebuano, which is one of my first languages because I grew up in Southern Leyte, so I can speak Cebuano. So, we'll be talking about verbs, and it is a favorite area, a favorite research area for me because of the rich system of morphological inflections based on affixation. And this is just not about verbs, right? We also inflect for nouns, also adjectives. So we all have those affixes, power-packed affixes in a way. So for verbs, these affixes, they can encode focus, aspect, number, and modality. So in short, the affix is the powerhouse of Philippine languages. Sa mga dumaan ng Ling 140, ayun. So the affix is the powerhouse of Philippine languages. And this has been observed in by many researchers and students of any Philippine language. Sorry, ang labo dito. Sa aking projector. But this is by Colleen French. Any Westerner who has studied the Philippine language stands in awe of its complex verb system. How does one ever learn to correctly attach affixes to verb? Diba? So papalitan lang natin yung affixes, nagbabago yung kanyang subject, you have bumibili, binibili, what else? Ibinibili, papabili, nabibili. So just to change in one or two letters, right? And it causes a whole lot of meaning difference. So the example is in Tagalog, but it does also apply to Cebuano and the rest of the Philippine languages. So these questions ay laging nagpapasakit ng ulo ko. Okay, so this one. So which verb can be affixed with a specific affix, and which affix can be attached to a verb? So this is a two-way relationship, yung kanilang pag-aaral ng mga verbs. Okay, so the framework is based on the theta-theory, the concept of focus, and subcategorization. So I'll ask you a question. What is the theta-theory? Pinag-tingin. Nakala ko ba lecture to, but may question. Okay? Oh, what is the theta-theory? Sige nga. Fresh from 140. Wala na. Kinalimutan na yun. May trauma to. Okay. So, The theta-theory is one of the modules in Noam Chomsky's government and binding theory. So it is a component of grammar that regulates the assignment of thematic rules or tinatawag theta rules or the symbol theta rules. So for this study, we're using agent, patient, beneficiary, location, but there's also theme and experiencer. So the number of theta rules vary among authors. So depende na lang kung sino yung inyong reference. So Kroger, for example, may recipient, stimulus, accompaniment, and path. Dr. Maliksi from the department also have perceptor and yung percept, like yung nakita. Perceptor ako, tapos yung na-perceive ko ay yung percept. Then you have reason and also reciprocal agent. So categories and terminologies will just depend on the author. Okay? So building on the theta theory, it's like this. Okay? So you have, imagine a stage na it's a teatro na bawat isa sa mga yan ay meron kani-kanilang roles. So bumili si Brian ng cellphone sa tindahan para sa kanyang kapatid sa pamamagitan ng Gcash. Yaman ni Sir Brian, no? Okay? So, si Brian is the agent who's doing the act of buying the cell phone, the patient. Yung location na pinagbilhan would be the tindahan. The recipient of the phone would be the kapatid, and something used for the transaction is Gcash. So, yun. So the theta theory is concerned with assignment of roles to the respective noun phrases in the sentence. Okay, now the concept of focus. Okay, so ano naman ngayon ang focus? Ano yung pinag-uusapan? Okay? So the focus is also called voice. Depende ulit kung sino nagsulat. But they're interchangeable. So according to Schachter and Tanis, this is the feature of the verbal predicate that determines the semantic relationship between a predicate and its topic. So kay Blas naman, that one argument that can be marked as having a special relationship with the verb. So yun yung nag-uusapan. So the affix attached to the verb determines which among the noun phrases is the subject. And it also determines which of the noun phrases is marked with the absolutive or nominative, depending on your theoretical inclination to ano yung gusto niyo itawag. So yung determiner na yun, yung ang or ang mga, at si or sina. So in relation to theta theory, this identifies which of the theta rules is highlighted or in focus. So, let's see sample sentences. Halimbawa, nagluto ang kusinera og adobo. So, affix for the agent, then the subject is ang kusinera. Then we shift to the patient, this will become, giluto sa kusinera ang adobo. Yan. Then the locative, gilutuan sa kusinera sa adobo ang kusina sa iyang silingan. Kulang yung gloss. So, nagluto siya ng adobo sa kusina ng kanyang kapitbahay. Okay. Nakiluto pa, no? So, the and also the locative, yung focus ng kusina. For the benefactive, so, gilutuan sa kusinera o adobo ang iyang anak. So, and also instrumental, so, gipanluto sa kusinera o adobo ang kalahap. So you can see how with the shift of yung change ng affix, napapalitan yung highlighted na noun phrase, and also napapalitan kung ano yung mark ng ang determiner. So in short, it's like this. Okay? So you have the Asian focus, for example, the noun phrase 1, and then going into the other kinds of focus, nagpapalit yung subject, topic, pivot, privilege, syntactic argument. So lahat na yan yung mga katawagan doon sa highlighted element. Depende kung sino yung author. Okay? So we'll just use subject now. Okay? So yun, pagpapalit-palit ng mga highlighted elements. Now we're done with theta theory, we're done with focus. How about subcategorization? What is it about? Sir Vinci, may plus points. Sabi ako sa recitation. Okay? Ano yung subcat? Hindi yun na maalala. So, 110 yung pa kasi to discuss. So categorization is the information about the word's complement options. So when we say complement, it's the noun phrase that is inside the verb phrase. Hindi kasama dito yung subject. Okay, so we're talking about objects. So it identifies whether a verb requires a complement or not. So kapag hindi niya kailangan ng object, it's intransitive. If it needs one object, then it's transitive. And if it needs two empty complements, then it is ditransitive. Okay. So, ayusin na natin yung terminologies. When you say arguments, it's all the important elements in the sentence. So, kasama yung subject, object, and sometimes the indirect objects. But when we say complement, it's the argument inside the verb phrase or the object. Kasi, if you would remember, going back to 140. So, in theory, all sentences have a subject. Yung extended projection principle ni Chomsky. So, the differentiation is in the presence of objects. So, kahit pa ang subject ay isang argument, hindi siya counted as a complement or hindi siya subcategorizing elements. Okay, so ito yung kanyang representation. So, you have the intransitive verb with no friends, the transitive verb yung nasa gitna has one friend, and the transitive verb has two friends naman doon sa taas. If we're going to represent that in a technical manner, so the verb smile, for example, has an argument structure of one. Okay, and that one argument is the agent, and that is also the subject. So if you look at the blank form, so verbs tapos blank, and transitive siya. So the line refers to the position where the verb is placed. So smile only needs a subject. Okay? He smiled, she smiled, they smiled, ganun lang. So hindi niya kailangan ng karugtong. Whereas yung by, it has two arguments. So the agent and the patient. One is agent and one is patient. Tapos meron itong isang NP complement. Like, pwede bang bumili siya? Okay na yun? She bought. Is that fine? Kasi mga Indian hedge. Hindi mo namin yes, no, or no. Medyo kulang, right? So, yun. Verb like by needs at one complement. So, kaya ito, transitive verb. Now, if we're going to apply this to Cebuano, okay. So, an agent-focused construction is nikanta siya. He sang, for example. And then, lagyan natin ng complement, nikanta siya, o yutang tabunon. So, yutang tabunin is a Cebuano version of lupang hinirang. Okay? Then, 6C is patient focus, and 6D also patient focus. So, meron ba ditong Cebuano? Or medyo, may alam dun sa. Okay, so, Aaron. Tama ba yung 6C? Katanggap-tanggap ba sa'yo? Varying context. Okay, so, kung nakita lang natin isang sentence na walang context, is it acceptable? Kulang. Hindi acceptable kasi may asterisk. So, may asterisk. Unahin natin. Okay. So, medyo may kulang din, right? So, in the patient focus, it really needs the object to be explicit. Kailangan nakalabas. Okay? Pero sa agent focus, pwede naman yung AF. That's acceptable. Okay? Although there's also arguments that they are implicit transitives. Okay, so the object is implicit, pero alam natin na semantically transitive yung verb, yun. So, may ganun ding argumentation, but I thought that it's better to approach this in a manner na naka-highlight yung affixation because of the behavior of Philippine languages. So, an affix-based subcategorization, yung ginamit na general framework for this study, it was used by si Ma'am Cruz from the department. So, Schachter and Lotanes, 1972. Then we have McFarland in 1976. And then jump to several decades, me. So, that's my master's thesis. So, all of these works are on Tagalog at yung upcoming dissertation, hopefully next year. Okay, so, good. Lahat ng yan ay mga framework sa Tagalog, so ginamit sa Tagalog. So meron siyang pagbabasihan at ina-apply din siya sa ibang wika sa Pilipinas tulad ng Cebuano. So pareho naman kasi yung nature nila, very concatenative, yung affixation, and the purpose of this work is to group verbs together according to the affixes that can attach to them for a particular focus. So ang subcategorization ay two-way. The first one is that the affix determines the focus, aspect, mode, and number of the verb. And at the same time, the verb chooses which affix can attach to it. So by doing this affix-based subcat, then we can test kung ano yung hangganan ng flexibility and limitations of verbal inflection. Diba? Hanggang saan naman pwede. Okay? At hindi ito free for all na bawat verb ay kaya niya ganitong affix at bawat affix kaya niyang kabitan yung particular verb. So it's not free for all. They undergo some compatibility testing. So the person affixes sort of does parang vibe check. Okay, so parang vibes mo kami ng verb na to. So kung hindi sila mag-attach. Okay, so they choose what it is that is compatible to them, with them. Okay, and going also through the related literature, so there are several studies on Cebuano from the Spanish period to the present of modern times. Usually, nililista lang nila yung affixes with a few examples, but there is no data, definite data on subcategorization. So the works by Father Encina, Blake, our very own Cecilio Lopez, then we have Cebuano by Victoria Bunyan Sayap. So these are from Hawaii. Tapos Cebuano verb morphology also. So meron ding functional reference grammar. So if you're familiar with the theoretical functional na argumentation when it comes to the approach to linguistic studies, so meron din functional reference grammar. And there's one that is written in Cebuano in its entirety. So linguistika ng Cebuano Pinsaya. Okay, so sa mga pag-aaral na to, napaka-konti lang nung affix, tapos konti examples, and that's it. Okay. So wala talaga yung pag-grupo in a way. So going back to the question, ito yun. Sasagot natin dito, which verb can be affixed with a specific affix, and which affix can be attached to a verb. So for the affixation, we'll identify the affixes used to focus a particular theta role, like mu and mag for agent, tapos on naman for patient. Also, again, categorizing, which verbs take mu affix, which take mag affix, and so on. Then, differentiate the meaning of verbs which take multiple focus affixes. So kung agent focus, for example, marami silang kinukuhang affixes, then ano yung differences ng mga iyon? At isa pa, tingnan kung meron bang mabubuong patterns or conjugation sets or correspondence sets. Halimbawa, kung mu ang kanilang affix sa agent, palagi ba itong on in the patient? So guess what the answer is? Okay. Guess lang. Is there a pattern? Surprise. Anyway, so the scope of the study ay very preliminary. It's just 100 verbs, yung corpus. And it is collected via thematic collection. The forms were verified by Cebuano FB pages and also by myself and yung mga kamag-anak ko, ng mga native speakers, talagang circle, and also friends who are speakers of Cebuano. The affixes, we just chose 10 affixes, and then the theta rows, itong lima lang, agent, patient, locative, benefactive, and instrumental. When I say theme for the corpus, it's like this. So verbs for cleaning, cooking, communicating, eating or drinking, or ingesting. And then verbs related to money and transactions, and verbs of movement or trajectory. Okay? So bakit yan yung mga piniling themes? This is supported by a previous study done by Clemenco, Sergey Clemenco, and me. So itong pag-aaral na to is love for myself. No? It's quoting myself. Okay? So the selection is based on Clemenco and Endriga. So the work is thematic verb classes and regularity of voice paradigms in Tagalog, where we tested verb groups of similar semantics. And yung hypothesis ay that they form similar paradigms. Okay? So, possibly that these words na, yan, magkakapareho sila ng theme or semantics, ay baka same din sila ng patterns. Okay? So, the affixes chosen are this one. So, for the agent, we have 3. Patient also 3. Locative on and an. Benefactive is an. And instrumental is ʔipang. So, to do this, ganito siya. So, bayad, for example, I'm just an agent, patient, locative, benefactive, and instrumental, and so on for the 100 verbs. Tapos, ayan, yung magiging kalalabasan. So, bayad can be inflected for 4, hatag is 3, hilak or cry is 2. So, let's go over the individual verbal affixations. First with the agent focus. So, pinakamadali. Ano ang agent? Yung tagagawa or doer of the action. So, the one who does the action, they can be real agents or those that have volition and control, so the capacity to decide, have an intent, and responsibility. So, the prototypical agents are animate. But also, as you read along the literature, meron ding non-prototypical agents. Okay? So, they can be animate or inanimate, like acts of God, or forces of nature. So bagyo can be an agent as well. Or anything that have inherent causal properties like machines and projectiles, they can also be agents, pero non-prototypical. So only the prototypical agent is considered for this presentation. Okay? So, for example, can be inflected with like that, yung pattern. So for the verb kaon, which means to eat, so you have mukaon, infinitive, same form for contemplative. Then nikaon for perfective and imperfective. So you like, nikaon siya og spaghetti or mukhaon siya og spaghetti. So nikaon would be he ate or is eating. Tapos yung isa naman yung contemplative. Okay. For mag, it's yun. So maglaba and naglaba, yung variations. For example, naglaba siya og mga bulingon kahapon. He washed the laundry yesterday, pero umulan. Paano matutuyo? So, si Ate, maglaba siya og mga bulingon ugma, she will wash the laundry tomorrow. And for ma, so ma and na yung modification. So if you have noticed, hindi ito tulad ng Tagalog, right? Walang three-way na difference between perfective, imperfective, and contemplative. So the inflection is more of realis, irrealis, distinction. So the infinitive and contemplative are irrealis. Wala pa silang realidad. Okay, no actualization. They don't exist yet in the real world. Pero yung perfective and imperfective ay realis. So one is already actualized, tapos na. Or yung isa ay ongoing actualization, pero nag-exist na siya, okay, in the real world. So there's no distinct form also for progressive and non-progressive action. So how to determine yung time kung kailan nga ba ito nangyari? It's by context or through the use of adverbs of time. Like kahapon, yesterday, ganiha, earlier, karon, or now, or today. Like, nagluto ko og sinigang karon, so it can mean I'm cooking sinigang now, or today. But if I say ganiha, then I cook sinigang earlier. So it's the same form, differentiated by context. So among the, okay, this distinction applies to all the focus and verbs in this paper. So itong realis, irrealis distinction, other literature uses future and non-future. Okay, so yung contemplative would be future, tapos non-future yung perfective and imperfective. So among the 100 verbs, ito yung pwede mong i-focus ng move. So, muabot, niabot, okay, muboto, niboto, mudawat, and nidawat. So yun, yung several verbs that can be inflected for move. For mag naman, we have this one. So, to pray is ampo. Mag-ampo, nag-ampo. Then you have mag-away, nag-away, and magbaligya, and nagbaligya. So, madaling tandaan yung, di ba, yung pattern ng M and N. Pero mahirap yung isa. Bakit yung mo naging ni? Okay. Hindi sakop ng paper ko yun. Kaya yun changes lang, in terms of form. Okay, then you have ma. So, konti yung Asian focus forms for ma. I only have 2 dun sa 100. So, you have mangutana, nangutana, and matulog, natulog. Okay. Now, in the Asian focus, ay merong collocation. So, some verbs take more than one affix with slight differences in meaning. For example, the mu form is singular. Yung mag is automatic dual or reciprocal. Okay, like to hug or embrace. When you say, ligakos siya sa iyang mama, it's one person going to another person. Okay? But when we say naggakos, tapos may pansin tayo stress shift. Okay, from gakos to naggakos. Si Maria o Jose, so Maria and Jose hug each other. So it should be, it means dual or reciprocal. Same goes for agreement. So subot would be parang one party consenting to another, the other one is both parties coming to an agreement. Next one, we have mu or ma, directed to the self. So the action remains in the self. Okay, directed to the self and remains within the self, but those affixed with mag needs a do. Exo. Okay, so the direct object. The action moves toward another element or a direct object. So halimbawa, pindog. So nitindog siya is move, right? Nitindog siya, he stood up. The action remained within the person. Pero pag sinabi mong natindog siya o building, the action went outwards. Right? So, the building. Ano pa ba? Yun. So, niupan, for example, to go along. So, niupan sila, they went together with someone else. Okay? Pero nag-upan sila amigo, they brought friends along. So, yun yung isang difference pa. Then we have, mu is purposive, and mag is intensive or repetitive. Okay, so those affixed with mu are more purposive, more focused, and more targeted. And those with mag, the action is done more intensively. Pwede rin siyang durative, or repetitive, or habitual. Okay, halimbawa yung nibasa siya o libro. So that is more purposive, it is a specific book. As opposed to nagbasa siya o libro, nagbasa siya o libro, that can be any book. Okay, so may element din of definiteness there. So, nihatag siya the nation is purposive. So, naghatag siya para sa iyang anak na yun eh. So, habitual. Okay? Okay. Repetitive yung action. Okay? And the last one would be, hindi pa pala last. Is we have mu as themed and mag as agent. Actually, hindi dapat kasama yung theme sa study na to, but lumabas sa data, so okay. So, themes are the entity affected by the action or state expressed by the predicate. So, ito yung, they undergo a change of state in the course of the event. Halimbawa, gumanda siya. Di ba? Nagkaroon ng change of state. From hindi maganda, gumanda. Okay? As opposed to, yung sinadya niya, nagpaganda siya. Magkaiba yung, yung construction na yun. So, theme, you have, for example, yung abri, ni-abri ang pertahan, the door opens. Okay? Wala yung agent dyan. Pero yung sa mag, ay explicit na merong agent. Nag-abri siya o pertahan. So, he opened the door. Tapos, meron din namang collocations na hindi nagpo-fall dun sa other collocations, but that they have their, quirkiness. Okay? Halimbawa, yung inom. So, inom is normal to drink. Pero pag nag-inom with a stress shift, then it applies to imbibing alcoholic drinks. Ganun din sa Tagalog, di ba? Ganun ba? Nag-inom, uminom, di ba, uminom, tubig, juice. Pag uminom ka na alak, uminom ka rin. Hindi kayo nag-iinom. Anyway, so paano ay, pag nag-iinom, alcoholic drinks, like, okay, nag-inom siya o juice, same place, juice. Pero, nag-inom na po, tuba ang mga palahubog. So yung translation yan ay, the drunkards are drinking tuba again. Tuba is, you know what tuba is? So, inumin siya, it's from coconut. Yeah. Yun. Tawag also, so tawag, mutawag or ditawag requires the use of something, an instrument like a telephone or cell phone. Pero yung nagtawag is to call or summon for someone. Tumawag, nagtawag. Yun, like call for help, for example. So yun yung dalawang yan. So the observation for this one is that the verbs choose which agent focus affix can attach to them and vice versa. The mu affix can also be used to focus a non-agent entity, which is the theme, and mag is the most commonly used affix. So ma is the least. So dalawa lang yung lumabas doon sa data. Okay, now we're done with the agent, punta tayo sa patient. What is the patient? Yung ginagawa ng alin. Okay. So, yung gumagawa at ang affected. Yung entity na affected, no? Ginawa. So, an object directly affected by the action, it undergoes an action. The thing and action is done too. So, for example, medyo tinamad na word to. Default clause, tigo. Pag sa patient focus, edi the thing gathered or collected. So, ganun na yung kanyang interpretation when you look at the data. Okay, so may tatlo yung patient focus affixes. We have on, an, and e. So, on, tulad ng kanina, dalawang forms lang yan. So you have the waton and gitawa. Okay. Ang layo no, yung on naging gi. Again, hindi sakop na aking papel. Okay. So, gitawat niya ang award sa eskwelahan. So that is, he received or is receiving the award from the school, and the waton niya ang award sa eskwelahan. So she will receive the award. So, yun lang. The waton ang gitawat. For an, so you have dulaan, which is to play, and gidulaan. So gidulaan nilang kotse-kotse. So they played or are playing with the toy cars or matchbox. So yung dulaan, they will play, so more on contemplative or irrealis. And the last one is e. So ituslo, which is to dip into something, and gituslo naman yung isang form. So, halimbawa, gituslo niya ang saging sa ginamos. Alam niyo yung ginamos? Bagoong siya, pero hindi yung alam niyo bagoong na mapula. It's gray. Yeah. So, bagoong siya na isda. Hindi siya bagoong na shrimp. Alamang. Yeah. So, anong yun? Dilis? Parang dilis. Tapos, binababad siya sa asin. Tapos mag-disintegrate. So yun yung bagoong Brian. So yung mga Tagalog dyan ng bagoong yung ay pula, sa amin gray. Alam hindi doon. So maliit na shrimp. Okay. So patient focus. So you have ampo. For example, giampo, ampoon, giaway, awayon, ayo, giayo, ayuhon, and you have basahon. Gibasaan, basahon. So meron siyang variant na HON, hon, for those ending in vowels. Ganun din dito sa an, so meron an or han, depende dun sa ending ng roots. So yung hugasan, dihugasan, ilisan, or to change clothes, ilisan, diilisan, labhan, dilabhan, sudlayan, and disudlayan, to comb one's hair. And the last one is E. So, i-appeal, gi-appeal, ibaligya, gibaligya, ibayad, gibayad, and ibilin, and gibilin. So, yung mga numbers dyan sa gilid, yan lang yung corresponding number nila dun sa 1 to 100 na data. So, the observation is that the collocation in the agent focus is lost. Since they only use one affix in the patient focus, like yung may nigawas and nagawas. Okay, so ito yung purposive, intensive, repetitive. Gigawas lang yan pareho. Nigawas, nagawas pala ay self at saka DO. So pagdating sa patient focus, nawawala yung collocation. So they're just both gigawas. So in order of usage, on is the most frequently used. And there's no collocation in the patient focus also. So halimbawa, an ka sa patient focus, on na yung isa mo pang pwedeng collocation, pero sa locative na siya. So walang pag-uulit doon sa mismong patient focus. Okay? Now this question here, So, to examine if there are patterns, conjugation sets, or correspondences, isang malaking no ang regularity. Hindi sila predictable, they're also not regular. Well, as of this point, kasi 100 ka lang naman to. So, kunwari ang test ay, if mo yung kanilang affix in the agent, is it always on in patient? Well, very evident here na no ang sagot. So, hulam, pwedeng hulamon in the patient focus. Pwede rin mulingkod, pero I naman siya sa patient focus. And then, mupirma is an naman in the patient focus. So, the regularity there is not evident. Okay. Yan ang mahirap. Kasi hirap mag-establish ng correspondence sets. Now, we're done with patient. We go to the locative focus. Ano naman yung locative? Ano? Bulong. Ito ay the place where events happen. Okay? Place lang. Can it be a person? Can a location be a person? Yes? No? Pumunta ako sa kanya. Yung kanya ba doon ay location? Pwede naman. Okay, location na direction. Okay, meron din location. Okay? So, locative focus is the place or a spatial locus of a state of affairs. Ano daw yan? Daming words. Okay, so person, thing, or place toward which the action is directed, okay, so pupunta, or from which the action originated, or where the action takes place. So yung alam nating place, yun yung location. But it can also be person, direction. So the place can be concrete or abstract as long as that is where you can find something. Okay, so halimbawa, default clause for balig is to sell. The locative focus for that is the place where something is sold. Okay? So dalawa lang ito, on at saka an. Tapos, ito yung inflection, tulad lang din nung sa patient focus. Like yung itabok niya ang kalsada and tabok niya ang kalsada. So, same pattern with the patient focus. Tapos yung an, ganun din, same pattern with the patient focus. So, bibaligyaan niya sa laptop ang FB Marketplace. Or bibaligyaan niya sa cellphone FB Marketplace. Kabibili ko lang Brian ng cellphone, binenta na. So, FB Marketplace. Okay? Si Brian ang bunot natin today. Okay? So, sa locative focus ay isa lang yung lumabas sa data na pwedeng i-affix ng on. So, yung example kanina, yung tabok. Okay? So, yung tabok on. And most of them ay an. So, halimbawa, you have locative, location, like bilinan. And the bilinan is the place where you leave something behind. Okay? Then we have butang. Butangan, di butangan is the place where you put something. Okay? Dungagan, number 18. So dungagan and di dungagan is the place where you put rice. And yun nga, kung may saing sa Tagalog, di ba, that's specific for rice, we also have dungag, which is specific for rice as well. Okay? Meron din namang locative direction, like bayran, dibayaran, okay, gastuhan, tug-anan, and gitug-anan, and tusluan, gitusluan. So, direction kung saan nangyayari yung action. Okay? Since on is more commonly used as the patient-focused affix, so there is only one instance of its usage in locative focus. Pero yung an, na least used in the patient focus, yun naman yung more frequently used in the locative focus. Yeah. And also, may cheat code itong locative. Kasi, pag nilagay mo sila sa agent focus, sa ang marker nito. Okay? So, nagsulat siya og balak sa papel. Balak is a poem. Okay? So, nagsulat siya og balak sa papel. Pagdating sa patient focus, gisulat niya ang balak sa papel. And then, locative focus, gisulatan niya og balak ang papel. So, pag kinonvert mo siya into agent focus, then you can see that it is marked by sa or kai. Now, for the benefactive focus, ano naman ito?
The one who benefits.
The one who benefits from an action. So, ginagawa isang action para dun sa taong yun. Okay? So, the individual for whose benefit something is done, pwede rin in whose stead the action is performed. So, pwede ba yung ikain? Pwede ba yung benefactive ba yun? Ipinagkain niya ako. Ikinain niya ako sa piyesta. Siya kumain para sa akin. Pwede ba yun? Benefactive ba in whose stead the action is performed? Or the animate being for whose benefit the action is carried out. So it is clear here that only animate beings that will benefit from an action done by a doer can be focused as benefactive. Okay, so halimbawa, limpyo, to clean, if it's benefactive, then someone for whom the cleaning is done. Okay. Nagawa niyo ba yun? Pinaglilinis niyo ba ibang tao? Pinag-iipon niyo ba ang ibang tao? Do you do that? Ang bait naman. Namimigay kayo ng pera. Bigay niyo lang sa debt. Okay. So, benefactive focus, isa lang yung nakita ko, very productive. It's an. So, you have andaman and the andaman. So, to prepare, for example, the andaman niya o pagkaon ang iyang bana. So, we have a specific word for husband, which is bana. Tapos yung asawa is the more general terminology. Or wife. Okay, so ang dami na pagkaon ang iyang asawa. Okay, so for examples, you have lutuan and dilutuan. Then you have palitan, gipalitan, and tabangan, gitabangan for benefactive focus. Okay? So the observation here is that dahil tatlo yung gumagamit ng an, right? You have patient, locative, and benefactive. Then paano ma-distinguish kung alin sa alin yung pinufocus nila, right? Is it patient, is it locative, or is it benefactive? So halimbawa, kapag ang form sa patient focus ay an, hindi na yun an sa locative focus. So malinaw yun, yung division sa patient and locative. Pero yung locative and benefactive, kailangan i-distinguish sila. So the alteration is evident when the verbs are used in sentences, specifically for the marker used for the patient complement. So sa for LF and O for benefactive. So for example, yung locative focus itong sentence, tapos tingnan na yung patient complement. So you have, gikawatan nila sa mga alahas ang prendahan. So, sa mga alahas, sa yung marker ng patient complement. Okay? As opposed to benefactive, ikawatan nila mga alahas ang ilang mga kuyab. They stole the jewelry for their girlfriends. Benefactive naman. So, sa and yung patient complement. Same goes for here. Nilutuan niya sa pansit ang kalahad, that's locative. Pero gilutuan niya o pansit sipeli, that's benefactive. Hindi pwedeng benefactive na gilutuan niya sa pansit sipeli. No. Okay? So, may difference sila sa marker of the patient complement. So, malaman mo ngayon kung locative focus ba to or benefactive focus. Okay? And lastly, doon sa ating mga focus, nasa instrument na tayo. Ano naman ngayon ang instrument? Ginagamit sa? Pinapanggamit? Para saan? Gawa na action. So, the thing used as a tool or means for the conduct of the action, and the object with which an action is performed, like to clean and the thing used to clean. Pwede bang instrument ang mga bahagi ng katawan? Yes. Okay? Automatic instruments yun. Bibig, kamay. Paano magagamit para kumain? Bibig, di ba? Kamay din. Okay. So, and then, automatic instruments, yung body parts for the completion of the action. So, ipang ang gamit dito, like ipang abri and ipang abri. So, ipang abri niya sa delata, ang can opener. So, the opener is opening the canned goods with a can opener. So, dito sa ipang, if you would remember yung phonology classes or allomorphy, anong mangyayari sa ipang? O Jays. Lesson namin ito kanina. Ano nangyari sa ipang, Jays?
Ipan.
Okay, so magkakaroon sila na allomorphy. So may assimilation na nangyayari, right? So it will be ʔipang before the following sounds, DLRSE. Para madaling tandaan, De La Salle raw sa Taft. Okay, malayo sa atin. Okay. Pwede rin, De La Rosa Street, right? Okay. ʔipang naman kapag bilabial sounds. So B and E, and it remains ʔipang elsewhere. So you have assimilative forms, and they also have replacive forms. So replacive yun naman yung total assimilation. So these are examples of assimilative, like ʔipang kuha, ʔipang kuha. Tapos you have ʔipanlaba, ʔipanlaba. So di ba, naging L because, naging N because of L. And also, ʔipanligo, ʔipanligo. Ang replacive naman ay konti lang. So, yung palit, instead na ipampalit, magiging ipamalit. Okay, ipamalit, ipamalit. Tapos yung silhig, instead of ipansilhig, it will become ipanilhig and gipanilhig. Now for the number of focus. So, naka-profile din kung anong mga verbs yung pwedeng i-focus for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So, halimbawa, verbs like dumag or to cook rice can be focused for 5. Same goes for palit or to buy. Tapos, ito yung kanilang corresponding na affix pattern. So, sa Asian ay mag, sa patient ay on, sa locative ay an, sa benefactive ay an, at sa, wala naman choice pala, benefactive at instrumental. So, an or ipang lang. So, ang magkaiba sa dalawang to ay yung kanilang agent focus, affix. Tapos, verbs like bayad and tuon ay pwedeng 4 naman yung kanilang focus inflections. Magkaiba sila sa patient focus, pero pareho silang walang benefactive. Okay. And then 3, we have away and hatag, so to fight and to give something. Yung agent focus ng hatag ay merong collocation. So pwede siyang mu, pwede rin siyang mag. Yung patient focus nila ay e, and then yung isa may locative focus, yung away, walang benefactive, walang instrumental, pero yung hatag ay walang locative, walang instrumental. At meron ding dalawa. So yung dawat, for example, which is to receive, and lihok, which is to move, ay pwedeng agent at patient lang. So wala silang locative, benefactive, and instrumental. Then there are also verbs na isa lang. Okay, like abot, which is to arrive, it will just be moabot. Wala siyang patient, locative, benefactive, instrumental. Same goes for hilom. Hilom is to be quiet. Hindi siya hilom na heal. So, hilom is to be quiet. So, hilom, ni hilom, yun lang. Walang hiniluman niya ang tinahimikan niya ang So, walang ganong construction. Okay. So, based on the limited number of focuses that we have discussed here, ito yun, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pero posible kasi that if we look at other affixes, baka pwedeng maging dalawa ito, pwedeng maging tatlo, depende dun sa yung iba pang affix na pag-aaralan. Okay? So, in general, the general observations, the first one is that the affixes are clearly not in a 1:1 correspondence. The on affix can be used to focus the patient and the locative, at yung an can be used to focus the patient, locative, and benefactive. And then there are also verbs that can use more than one affix to inflect for the same focus. So makita yung nag-a-apply sa agent focus. Usually wala siya doon sa iba. Tapos, they can take yung mu and mag, ma and mag, with slight differences in meaning. So for agent focus, mag is the most used affix. For patient focus, on naman. Tapos, while an is also used as a patient focus affix, it is utilized more for locative focus. And then the collocations in the agent are lost in the other focuses. So halimbawa ito, ganito yung kanilang correlation. So any of the following can be in the agent. Pagdating sa patient, pwede silang maging an, pwede maging on, maging e, nang walang definite na pattern or reasons bakit. Okay? So kung an ka na sa patient, mali ang kasulat doon, dapat on yun. Okay? Yung locative niya dapat ay on, or pwede, ayun, on. And then, kapag on sa patient, it's an in the locative. Okay? And then, benefactive at instrumental, walang choice. Mag-isa lang. So kung meron ka benefactive, it's an. If you have instrumental, meron ʔipang. Okay. So, as discussed kanina, the affix "an" is inflected in the same manner, whether it is patient, locative, or benefactive. So, nakita niyo naman yung example kung paano matutukoy kung locative or benefactive, right? Yung sa or og for the patient complements. And then, based on the corpus, the agent is the most used theta rule. Okay, so this goes against yung mga patient primacy ganyan. Okay? Dito sa data na to, lumalabas na agent yung most used na theta rule. Pero kasi pag pinagsama-sama mo syempre yung patient, locative, instrumental, benefactive, malamang mas marami talaga yun kaysa sa agent constructions. Mas marami yung non-agent constructions kaysa sa agent constructions. So all of the 100 verbs can be inflected for agent focus. So if a verb can be inflected for only one, it is most likely the agent. Like what we have seen earlier dun sa here, right? Moabot and also hilom. Isa. So agent lang yung kanilang focus. Alright. So the next one, after the agent, it is followed by the patient. So 86/100 patients. Third is the locative focus, 71. And fourth is the instrumental. Nawala pa instrumental sa benefactive. Bakit kaya? The least used theta rule is the benefactive. What do you think? Oo lang. Bakit? Ayaw natin gumagawa ng para sa iba. Pero pwede mong gamit kasi instrumental. Ayaw natin benefit. Kasi limited yung pwede focus, animate, right? Kaya, yan. Wala, hindi ko alam baka may kinalaman sa psychology, pero wala naman siguro. Okay. And then, it's highly unpredictable, right? The affixation can be attached to a verb. Walang definite determinant kung alin ang pwedeng commit sa verb, and why a verb is affixed with a particular affix. At this point, wala pang sagot doon. And there's also no determinant for the number of focus a verb can be inflected for. And yung affix correspondence focus to focus ay highly unpredictable also. So, hindi automatic na kunwari mo in the agent, hindi siya on agad in the patient. However, even if highly unpredictable ito, verbs still have a clear preference for the affixes that can attach to them. Okay? So, yun yung mga ka-vibes nila, edi go. Pag hindi, okay, hindi sila compatible. Okay, pati verbs, no, may compatibility siya. So yun ang general observations for the study, and now we go to further sakit ng ulo. The recommendations. Ano ba pwede pang gawin? Nyo. Napagod na ako. So pagawin. Nakakaduling-tuling sa data. But anyway, these are recommendations which you can also do if you want to, mga nagawa 99, next sem or next year. Okay. So recommendations, of course, is the expansion of the corpus to more than 100 verbs. Diba? Ang konti ng 100. So very preliminary study ito. And then the inclusion of more affixes. So we only look at 10. But Cebuano Dictionary, yung binisaya.com, lists 463 affixes. Kaya. Pero itong 463 naman ay yung mag sa kanag, yung irialis-rialis, ay pinagsama nila. Ay, pinaghiwalay pala niya ang count. So, kaya 463. So, I think it will probably be less than 200. So, I'm doing one for Tagalog now, 140 na affixes. Yun. So, imagine 10. So, 140. Kaya kayo na gumawa ng iba. And then, the inclusion of more theta rules, like yung theme na lumabas kanina, tingnan pa ng mas malaliman. Then we have the experiencer. Experiencer, for example, yung usual siya sa verbs of emotion. Like, natuwa or natawa. na hindi mo naman sinasadya, pero ikaw yung naka-experience yung emotion. Or bodily, like naihihiling ganyan. So, yung mga ganun, experiencer, causative, inclusion of modal constructions, for example, yung mga habilitative, yung mga accidental, also include that. And a discussion of syntax. Kasi the current study observed usage in basic predicative sentences. So verb first and basic construction. And also test it in other kinds of sentences. Complex sentences, for example, or baka may forms na lalabas kapag yung parang nominal form, baka may ganun din. And then of course, the testing for regularity, the grouping of patterns of correspondences, laging may disclaimer yan na if any. Kasi baka wala naman talaga, hindi ba? Ang ano ko lang siya, napakonsuelo mo ay, na-categorize, ito na yung data. Pero walang pattern. And then, determining all the affixes that can attach to a verb. So, I'll show you an example of regularity testing. Halimbawa, yung itong paper na to, where we theorize that verbs of similar semantics may form similar paradigms. This is in Tagalog, so we looked at verbs of cooking, heating, verbal communication, and ingestion. Tapos, tested for focus, locative, instrumental, benefactive, and causal. So, lumalabas na in some semantic groups ay may lumalabas na definite pattern. For example, verbs of cooking, pwede ang locative, instrumental, and benefactive, but not the causative. Okay? So, when you look at the data, the acceptability threshold is 13. 13 up, definitely acceptable form. 5 down, definitely unacceptable. Okay? So, communication verbs, itong sabi, tanong, sagot, sigaw, bulong, ay regular sa instrumental and benefactive. So, meron silang regular na, tawag dito, inflection for that when it comes to focus. So, meron naman, lumalabas na pattern pala. Okay? At, and expand ito, for example, like verbs of cooking, ay pwede ma-inflect for 5. Like, ayan, Asian, patient, locative, benefactive, instrumental. So, gisa, Tagalog ito ha. Ano ba? Nagisa, ginisa, ginisahan, ipinagisa, at ipinanggisa. So, pwede siyang 5. Right? And the rest of the cooking verbs. Ganun din ang paglilinis. Pwede rin ito sa 5. Okay? Tulad ng hugas. Okay? Yung verbs of heating ay pwede sa 4. Asian, patient, benefactive, instrumental. Tingnan mo yung heating may benefactive. Ipinaghampas ko siya. Ipinagsampal kita. Ako lang nagalit para sa'yo. Pwede, di ba? Ipinagsampal kita. Verbs na meteorological or yung acts of God would be dalawang focus, ancient at locative, like bagyo, may bumagyo at binagyo. Bumagyo sa, di ba kung may sa, na yun na locative yung noun phrase na yun. Bumagyo sa Quezon City. Bumaha sa Quezon City. Favorite ni Lord ng Quezon City lately, no? So, binaha ang Quezon City. Then, 1 for emotions or sensations like naawa, nabuhay, nanlabot, and nalungkot. Wala namang, paano ba? Ipinanlungkot niya. Nilungkot niya. Wala. Okay. Base lang to dun sa kasi feeling ko pwede siya sa causative. Ikinalungkot. Ikinatuwa. Pero hindi siya subject ng pag-aaral. So, pwede namang magbago ang lahat ng yan. So this is based only on the limited number of affixes also used in that Tagalog study. And this is actually what I really want to do. Yung parang dictionary of verbs wherein nandun lahat ng kanilang possible na inflections. Like the verb kain, sa agent pwede siyang kumain, nangain, nagkainan, nagsikainan, nagsipagkain, nagkainan. So napakaraming affixes for it. So magandang makagawa ng profile ng bawat taldiwa. So this is the dream. Okay? Gusto niyo ba? Ayun lang. Pinapasa ko na sa inyo. Ayun. So, that's it. That's my presentation. So if you have questions, send me na. Thank you. yung maitatanong dito, pwede niyo akong i-email. Okay? At kung meron kayong magandang papel, now or soon, the archive. O yung kalimutan. Okay? So, ayun lang. Maraming salamat.
So thank you so much for attending our session. So once again, many thanks to Ma'am Endriga for engaging us and sharing your knowledge on the Cebuano language. So this October, which is actually tomorrow na October, the installment will be on Kuyonon with the ISO code 6393CYO, and will be held in celebration of the Linggo ng Kap or CSSP week with the theme Pananaw at Pagtanaw. The October installment will be presented by Professor Alvin Pili. So thank you very much everyone and have a great day.